to the quest for the Green Bowl, the rise of Ralu Azath. Wow, we had a crazy week. Multiple records falling, both impressive feats as well. And this week we bring in the second team that has won a second game of the week this season. Also, who now holds one of these new records, the Elite Mother Tuckers. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Feeling great. 8-1, riding a nice wave here, so I can't complain.
Oh yeah. What's funny is the last time we talked, you had just won your first, game in this league in your league career. You haven't
Yeah.
lost since, so I don't know. Maybe it's the game of the week bump. I'm not
Hey,
sure, but
you know what? Ever since I called Eckler Smeghead, it's he's been working out for me.
he's been going pretty good. I mean, what's nuts about your 8 wins, straight wins, by the way, which isn't now a league record, is there's been some good teams. And when I was rechecking, to be honest, I was surprised that no one had, besides the 8 wins, no one had started 8-1 before.
Oh wow.
7-2 was the best start through 9 weeks. So, I mean, you're still alive for the wins record. You have to win 12 games for that. So it'd be, I mean, you have to, win 4 or 5, but I mean, it is possible. Of course, you have to essentially win out to have the least amount of losses. But what's more interesting is you're now 531.25 points away from claiming the regular season points record for a
Oh,
team. The
holy cow.
multiple scoregasms hold at 1,567.54 points. You just obviously beat them in your game of the week, solidifying a first round bye if you could win the EO division, which looks likely. But what are your thoughts on chasing these records and how big this last week's win was for you?
Well, this past weekend, because multiple scoregasms, I believe, started off 5-0 this year.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for them, they hit a little bit of a rough patch here. But I was not extraordinarily confident going into this game, because I didn't have everybody at full. I mean, obviously, I didn't have the weeks out of everybody that I was
Yeah.
hoping to have.
Yeah.
But that was a big, big win. I'm very excited always if my name's being thrown around with a record or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's always great. That 500 or so some odd points there, that seems reasonable. Like I could probably
Yeah.
reach that if I need it. I'll probably get at least 100 this week. So,
Yeah.
all these things are very exciting, especially being new to the league. Hopefully, I found a home here.
Yeah.
And I can stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, I don't know if you saw last week's episode. You had Uncle Jussie backing up the multiple scoregasms, maybe
Hmm.
throwing a little shade, throwing some
Hmm.
choice words. Does that give you more motivation against the Uncle Jussie to maybe teach a little bit of a lesson this week?
Well, I mean, is that his wife? I'm wondering. Is that
Just the girlfriend.
okay? A girlfriend? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I know there's definitely a rivalry there with the two of them. So,
yeah.
I fi- going up against my wife in fantasy football, I don't think I ever beat her. So, and he ended up topping her, coming out on top. I think against her,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yes.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, you, you know, Fortunately for me, I think he's made like 40 moves or something this year.
He's made a lot.
So he so fortunately for me, the team that he drafted isn't going up against me this week. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping to come out on top this week too.
Yeah, and of course, on that note, speaking of that, I wanted to go back. I don't know if we remember last time we talked about those fantasy rankings, Eckler as a Smeghead, those types of things. I wanted
Hmm.
to see what maybe changed with some things. I mean, the rankings have surely changed for these players, so I wanted to go back over that. So
Sure.
let's once again break down the numbers. Okay, so a little different than last time, actually. I'm going to go over some players in the updated consensus fantasy power rankings for the rest of the season. That's the same. Uh, but,
Okay.
but we'll be using three quotes from the original Predator movie. I don't know if you've
Oh
seen
wow.
that. Yeah, I'm sure you're all about that.
I've seen it. It's been a while, but I'll do my best.
yeah, so we're going to be talking about whether these rankings that are there, the numbers, are underrated, overrated, or spot on. They're spot on. So for underrated, I want you to a quote from Blaine, who's played by ex Minnesota Governor Jesse the Body Ventura. Old Painless is waiting. I don't know if you remember that with the big machine
Okay. Old
gun.
Painless. Is that what
Yeah.
you said? Old Painless.
Yes, Old
All right.
Painless is waiting. For overrated, you must say, if it bleeds, we can kill it. That's of course
It
Arnold.
bleeds.
So be sure if you have a good Arnold impression, I want to hear it for that one.
I'll do what I can.
Yeah, and of course, if it's spot on, if you think the ranking from the experts is spot on, another Arnold Schwarzenegger, whose name is Dutch, get to the chopper, like
Get to the chopper. That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's most people's favorite for sure.
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
best line of the movie.
Funny side note: we actually, me and a bunch of friends, including this my fiance Simon's Dreamcats, who's in our league, just watched that for the first time. The Simon's Dreamcats had never seen it. I've seen it millions of times. She
Yeah.
loved the original Predator, which
Oh yeah,
is yeah.
it's a classic. That's for sure. It's been too long because I kind of got into Halloween quick kick the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll definitely now I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah. It is definitely classic. It's insane. So are you ready to go over these again?
All right, yeah. What was the Jesse the Body Ventura's again?
Old Painless is waiting.
Old Painless is waiting. Okay, all
Yeah,
right,
and that's for the underrated. So if you think they're
all right.
underrated, you know.
Sounds good.
So and I'll remind you too if you ask. So I'm going to start once again with your player. We've went over Mr. Smeghead before, Austin Eckler. I mean, you've said it. A resurgence, of course. He was
Yeah.
ranked 10th back then. He's now ranked fourth, below just McCaffrey, was just traded.
Mm-hmm.
Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, above Nick Chubb, Kenneth Walker, Cooper Kupp, and another one of your studs in Josh Jacobs, Justin Jefferson, and ETN.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you said it was a little smeg egg before, but since week 4, 10 touchdowns. I mean, I know that's helped you a lot, including
I
4
mean,
games with multiple scores. So,
yeah, he's definitely get to the chopper right now. Yeah, he's right there. I don't know if he's the best because he's not the power guy,
yeah,
but coming out of the backfield, he's good for a couple of catches. If this were PPR, I'd be definitely tearing the lid
oh,
off
yeah.
the book. But no, yeah, he's definitely. I feel like he's properly rated right now. He what was it, two touchdowns last week, one receiving,
Yeah.
one rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I said, since I've called him a smeghead, I mean, I can't complain. I can't
Yeah,
complain.
he took that to heart. He must have watched it, saw that, and said, "I'll show you
And I know he's a
Smeghead."
fantasy guy. He's a big fan of fantasy football too. I know that. So these things are important to him.
Oh yeah, and he's been obviously one of your studs. And when you have a running back that's going to get you touchdowns like that, that's
Mm-hmm.
huge. But he also, like you said, even in standard, being a receiving back as well helps because you get those extra receiving yards.
Yep.
So that's it still ends up being a boost in that sense.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
And sticking with the running back, I do want to someone who was injured and you didn't have to play him last week, but Jonathan Taylor, first overall pick, and was essentially consensus number one in the beginning. Was number one the last time we went over this. He's now ranked 20th, below your player Tyreek Hill, who's obviously very good. Stephon Diggs, Kamara, Mixon,
Mm-hmm.
Brown, AJ Brown, Pierce, Devontae Adams, Ramondre Stevenson, and Delvin Cook, all there. But is actually a few players behind. You have Kelsey, CeeDee
Mm-hmm.
Lamb, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Waddle, and T. Higgins. Of course, injuries have hurt, but Taylor has just one touchdown. He's also been over 90 yards just 3 times, which
Yeah.
is not what you want from a number 1 overall pick. So what is your call on Taylor's ranking right now at 20th?
See, this is one of those moments I was happy I didn't draft number one
Yeah.
So whoever lost the Green Bowl or the worst the last place game,
Yeah.
I'm happy for that because that saved me from drafting Jonathan Taylor. I think ooh yeah, get to the chopper right now for sure.
Yeah, you can't
He has
stop.
the potential to fly off the charts. I mean, we saw that last year. It's just whatever for the injury reasons and the fact that they just aren't an offensive juggernaut by any stretch.
Yeah.
Right now, sorry about the dog barking here.
Oh,
Uh,
that's fine. He's
but
upset about Jonathan Taylor too.
they are not. Yeah, they aren't the team that they were last year. So Matt Ryan probably has something to do with that a little bit. But
Yeah, maybe.
or no, he's not even starting anymore. Now that I
Yeah,
think about
It's Ellinger now.
it. Yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, he's probably rated right now because he has the potential to go off.
yeah, so you're thinking because of that potential, you can't put him lower than 20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just my thought in it. Maybe at some point he'll be worth that number one pick.
Yeah, and that could happen because you know how this goes. You know, even though we're 9 weeks in and this is our 10th week, if somebody goes off and has a great finish here, are you going to complain that they had a bet? Like if they're leading you to the playoffs or to a championship, if you can make it, like no one's going to complain. So you'd have to
Oh,
rate. Yeah,
right.
exactly. So
Yeah.
now we're another one of your players, tight end Mark Andrews. You said I know you said Andrews is one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in your
Hmm.
opinion. Last time he's had some injuries of late, but when healthy, I mean clearly he was doing very well. So he's actually dropped 12 spots from earlier this season to 34th in these rankings. That means Mike Evans, Debo Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Swift, and Josh Allen, which I guess as a quarterback as good as Josh Allen, that kind of makes sense. But they're all ahead of Andrews. He is ahead of Olave, Metcalf, Pollard, Dante Foreman, and Gabe Davis. Your player Tyler Lockett as well. But
Hmm.
488 yards and 5 touchdowns for a tight end in 8 games because he did miss one. 80 or more yards 4 times this season. What are your thoughts? And he's going to heal up because he's got this body. What are your thoughts on this ranking? I mean,
I think
34th.
he's underrated. So if he bleeds, he is that the one if he's underrated?
No, that's old painless. Old
Oh, Old
painless.
Pain. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, Old Painless. Yeah, he's gonna be fine. One of the games he only had like .6 points, but he as a guy who's had about 10 shoulder operations, I feel his pain with the shoulder stuff. He had a knee going in there, I believe.
Yeah.
So he'll come back. He'll come back stronger, and I still have faith. You know that those ESPN fantasy guys were correct. You know,
Yeah.
and
From
hoping that
earlier.
he'll be right there at the top. I mean, right now Kelsey's making them look bad, but you
Yeah.
know Kelsey's hasn't been hurt in like 2-3 years at least. So
Yeah.
I
He's
mean
been pretty
he's a
healthy.
monster. He's an Iron Man for sure. But
Yeah.
I think he definitely underrated for right now.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you here. And the biggest thing for me is when Andrews is healthy, you know he's going to be featured, and that's the biggest thing. Is guess who's featured now? It's the guy who's his backup, likely.
Yeah,
Like he's
they don't
getting
have
all.
anybody on that offense other
Yeah,
than
no
Deshaun or
receivers.
that's Deshaun Jackson was just signed by them, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Was
but
yeah,
he hasn't even done anything
yeah,
yet.
he hasn't done a thing yet. Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's he's going to be back in full throttle, I believe, next week. I just need Higby to have a good week.
Yeah, you need Higby to help you this week on the
Yes.
bye. But yeah, again, and some of those players we talked about too. I mean, Debo Samuel's been injured. Amon
Hmm.
Ross St. Brown's been injured. Miles Sanders, you know, you're always going to have the possibility that hurts your other quarterback takes points away.
Hmm.
And Aaron Jones, you know, he's in a rough offense right now. So it's just like to put those guys ahead, I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, that was my thought.
Aaron Jones has great potential. If Austin didn't pick him up, I would have probably drafted him myself. And thankfully, you know, he picked him up instead of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I think I had Aaron Jones. I would have had him ranked initially on draft day ahead of like Jacobs and everything like that
Yeah, most
because
people.
you know who else did Aaron Rodgers have in that offense?
Yeah.
So that was my thought process on him, and he just I think
Yeah.
squirmed in there and picked him up right before I was going to.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned Jacobs. Like, what? That might be the draft pick of the year at this point. I mean, man.
I mean, I can't even remember when I picked him up, but it was that's definitely one of the surprise picks. I was not expecting him to do what he's been doing.
Yeah. I mean, I had him last year, and he was not doing this for me.
I had him last year too, and it was yeah. I don't know. I figured he was going to be a bench player, maybe flex at best, but
Yeah,
he's definitely a running back one or two option there. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean two obviously with Eckler, but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's pretty amazing. That what he's been doing, and another, to be honest, person that's been maybe one of the best quarterback picks is another one of your players, Jalen Hurts. He's at 50th right now. He's moved up 17 spots from earlier this season because, I mean, what has he done? Pretty much 1,800 passing yards, 303 rushing yards, 16 total touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. That's insanity. A lot of
it is.
weapons, undefeated team, and to be honest, has a fairly easy schedule for the next couple of weeks, and he beats you with his arm and his leg. So who's he ahead? Amari Cooper, your player Mostert, Kittle, Godwin, Harris, Jamar Chase, since he's injured, has dropped this far. Dallas Goddard, he gets to throw to as well. Devontae Smith also gets to throw to,
Yeah.
and Ezekiel Elliott, who's been injured. He's ahead of Singletary, Jamal Williams, Lazard, Patrick Mahomes. He's ahead of Patrick Mahomes and Khalil Herbert. So, what's your reaction to Hurts ranking? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, if he's ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who's been pretty much lights out, especially I mean outside of one or two games, I mean he's got to be properly rated. So I gotta say, get to the chopper. As far as like quarterback ratings, he's got to be like at least in the top three. I mean,
Yeah,
as far as
that's
like
where he
everybody
is.
goes,
If you just take quarterbacks, it's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the
yeah.
top three.
I mean, if you can land either one of those three, I mean, you're good at quarterback, and it wouldn't surprise me if we hear, if we see him as an MVP candidate at the end of the season either.
Yeah.
As far as offensive goes, he's he's got a lot of the attributes you look for a good quarterback in today's league. So I mean,
Yeah.
is he more valuable than a Cooper Cup would be? Probably not. But
Yeah.
so I would say he's probably in the general scheme of things, because quarterbacks sometimes are a dime a dozen in fantasy football.
Yeah.
They're all going to get 17 points.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
yeah, more often than not. If you have Aaron Rodgers this year, probably not. So and that's a great dig for me because I'm a Bears fan. So
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Bears too, I mean, I have to go up against them this week on Remember the Titans, but Justin Fields is somebody who I'm a little worried about because I mean, if you, as a Bears fan, you must be very excited. But the Bears obviously aren't making the playoffs, but they might keep fighting, and they're going to be in these high-scoring games now since they traded half their defense. And the fact that he's able to rush for over 100 yards. That's
yeah, he had
slightly
what?
like Lamar Jackson type situation.
Yeah, he was all of a sudden. What was it? He broke Michael Vick's record last week, I
Yeah,
think, too. So
178 yards, I believe.
yeah, it was something like
173.
that. I know he had 40 some odd points for fantasy too. I do a same day fantasy sometimes for the $3 or whatever it is. And I was like,
Yeah.
should I pick him up? I was like, nah, he's not going to do it this week. So as a Bears fan, it's hard for me to believe that we have a quarterback finally. Where my greatest observation of a quarterback in Bears history is Jay Cutler. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Jay Cutler fan. I am. But as far as like best all time, I mean, maybe Justin Fields is that guy. I was a little worried last year, but I'm starting to ease up on that a little bit. Maybe Ryan Pace finally made a good choice there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
excited about him for sure.
it actually kind of emulates Hurts, if you remember. He started
Hmm.
to use his legs, and now this year he's opened up where he's able to use his arm as well, and it's made him a very good quarterback.
It's thinking about it. What was it? 2020 Jalen Hurts was drafted.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at my friend's house, and when the Bears drafted Jalen Johnson, I swear to God, Jalen Hurts was still available.
Yeah.
and I heard Jalen, and I was about to go nuts because I thought we had Jalen Hurts going to the Bears. I went nuts. I was like, "Oh my god, we got Jalen Hurts!" And then it said Johnson. I was like, "All
Yeah,
right,"
not
you know.
as good. Yeah,
But
not at all.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, Justin Fields is coming in. I feel pretty good about that as a Bears fan, and hoping that the Packers are at some point in my lifetime are going to start losing. So, are you you're in Wisconsin, right? You're a Packers fan.
Minnesota. We're in Minnesota
Oh, are
actually
you?
now.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
was in Wisconsin for a very long time. So
okay.
I
All
grew
right.
up. I grew up in Chicago, though. So
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah, I'm
So yeah.
technically not necessarily a fan of any team, as I was always a baseball hockey fan. But in terms of like
Hey.
NFL teams, I was always a fantasy football player as opposed to rooting for teams. But so I'm kind of I watched everything.
Mm-hmm.
But my family's big in the Bears, so I watched that. And when I was in Wisconsin, people were big on the Packers, of course, when they made
Sure.
it to the Super Bowl, and when I was just out of college, so they were all excited about that. So it's one of those things of like, oh yeah, Minnesota obviously hasn't had lots of success until
Well,
this year, maybe.
I don't think they're going to a Super Bowl, but they're pretty exciting this year too.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Vikings are. So
yeah. There's a lot of people
I wasn't
excited.
sure if you were related to the Packers side of Austin over there. So
Oh no, no, definitely not. To be honest, I was more of a. I liked when I was younger. I liked Jacksonville because they just came into the league and they made it
okay,
to the. I don't know if you remember. It was like their second year. I think they made it to the AFC Championship and
I
lost
do
to
recall that.
Denver.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I was a
I
young
just
guy
I
back
got
then.
into them because they were. I was like, oh my god, this team that's literally their second year and they're like doing well.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously. I mean, oh God, what was it? I was watching something a few years back on the I think the Texans. And the guy didn't want to go into the regular season mode with them because he's like, oh, and when we do that, we're gonna get our first loss and everything. I could, I don't know why it's the ADHD in me that sparked that memory,
yeah,
but
no, that's
yeah,
funny.
I do recall that. What was it, a couple years back? They made it to the where they lose to the
It
Patriots.
should have beat them. Yeah, I was watching
Yeah.
that. I was rooting for them.
Oh, so was I. I couldn't stand Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean,
And talk about a guy who's been sinking ship right now lately, huh?
yeah, that's true. That's true. AR's Austin. He thinks that Tom Brady's going to be his savior in our fantasy season. So we'll see what happens there.
I mean, what he picked him up, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his Aaron Rodgers hasn't been doing anything this year.
Yeah. So it's probably an
He was
improvement
in
from
fourth grade,
Rodgers.
just talking smack to him about Aaron Rodgers, and he'd just come back every Monday morning, just be, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I saw him. I saw him.
And now you get to have the last laugh this
Now I
year.
get to finally have it. I got the young quarterback now.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I don't get to see him every day anymore. So,
Yeah, there's that.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
there's that. But yeah, that's I mean, we just went through 55 players in the ranking too. It's kind of funny, even though we talked more in depth about a couple of them. But man, the consensus of experts believe that these will be the ones leading teams, the fantasy playoffs, the championships.
hmm
Whenever, as you know, the top 50, everything else is going to be week to week, matchup to matchup. But usually the top 50 are the clear ones.
yeah.
But to be honest, did we really learn anything from that? Probably not, because
But
they
no,
weren't they weren't
that's
that
definitely not.
accurate before. It's too early. I think too many variables still.
I
You
mean,
know.
and I think you said it earlier this year too. It's like no one player has been extraordinarily dominant the entire year.
Yeah, they're
I
gonna have
mean,
down weeks. Yeah.
outside of like Cooper Cup, I mean, who else has there been that's been like consistently dominant this year? And I can't think of a single one.
Yeah, it's
You know,
difficult.
Mike Evans has his moments, but then he drops wide open touchdown passes the past
Yeah.
couple 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I've had players too. It's like
mhm.
Justin Jefferson, like he's decent. Like he at least gives me a decent floor most of the time. But
Mhm.
he hasn't had that super beast game because he's dropped a couple touchdowns or just didn't get the red zone target for some strange reason, and then they settled for field goal on that team, so that matters. And then
Yeah.
I have Jalen Waddle, and he's been great, just like Tyreek Hill's been great on your
Mhm.
side. But Tyreek Hill essentially gets all the yards. So if Waddle doesn't catch a touchdown, he might have a bad game. Like, you know, not that 8 points is bad, but it's not what you want to if that's one of your players you're looking to win.
Oh no, you definitely want to hit double digits, at least 12 or 13 points there.
Yeah,
It,
exactly.
yeah. So I feel that every week I go into it's like, man, this guy isn't performing. Like last week, I was Higby scored nothing last week. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's rough.
oh god, I'm gonna lose this game because he didn't score anything.
Yeah.
I
No, I know.
the roller coaster that is fantasy football, right?
Yeah.
It's a emotional ride all the way through. So
That's why me and you are in a good spot because we're, you're 8-1, I'm 7-2.
that's it.
When you have a little bit of cushion, so we can handle a loss if it came down, where it's not that bad. Whereas the teams, so many teams are 5-4, 4-5, like they're like in a rough spot, like they need to
Oh
win
yeah.
out.
But to be completely honest, if I lost right now, it would ruin my whole weekend. It'd be devastating to me
Yeah, that's the same.
because
And I'm in the
I
game
got
of the week, so
the Bears
yes,
aren't winning, so I got to win.
yeah.
It's just
It,
one of the,
I, I'm in the game of the week with a rivalry award on the line. Like I want to
Oh
win,
boy.
and I had the horrible Thursday night football nonsense where for some reason the Falcons forgot how to run the ball, even though they've been doing it all
I,
year.
I can't be upset. I was watching Wakanda Forever on Thursday. That was probably the first Thursday night football I missed all year.
Yeah, that's
I
good
saw
for
who
you.
was playing. I was like, I'm good. I'll go watch that movie.
You made the correct choice.
Yeah, I after one I think I got out of there like 10:30. I was like, oh wow, yeah, that was definitely the right
Yeah.
move there. So
Yeah, it's kind of funny in my matchup is remember the Titans players also didn't do well because they were in that. So we're
yeah,
technically right where we were before, like with the projections. Like it
yeah.
doesn't matter that much.
Hopefully, like you said, you got Justin Jefferson. No, they're not. They're not by this week, are they? No, they did their
No,
best.
they're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
I
yeah,
got I got Chubb back, so I'm hoping for Chubb,
you're going to
Waddle,
be good to
Jefferson.
go. I think
Yeah,
Chubb was on bye when we played each other, and I was very thankful for that.
yeah, that helps.
So
Yeah, you're one of my only losses. Should be my only loss to be honest, but
hey, and looking back on it, I should be 9-0. If Eckler
yeah.
wouldn't have been such a smeghead week one, I would have been all right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
so but yeah, and this is it's a fun ride. I'm excited to see where we go. I feel like I've got a playoff spot at least locked up right now, so
yeah.
I can just kind of enjoy the ride as it goes.
Yeah, you could technically clinch this week if things go your way. If you win
Yeah.
and Green Acres loses, I believe you win. You
Oh,
clinch.
9-1's on the horizon for sure. I think you said 80% chance of me winning, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take that all day.
you've had that a lot for sure. Well,
I don't know how it happened. I was half in the bag when I drafted. I had a couple of drinks of whiskey in me. I was like, oh, I'm just going to pick whoever right now.
it worked out well. That should be your strategy every
It
week.
absolutely did. It did. It did
So,
indeed. So I can't complain about that.
well, for sure. On that note, well, thanks for joining, of course, and congrats on the league record. I mean, these league records are not anything to sneeze at. They're tough to get. We obviously have a competitive league, and you're now chasing playoff berths and other league records as well. So you have a lot on the horizon.
Oh
So I
yeah.
know everything seems to be up and up for you at this point.
The goal is to get it so nobody else can reach these. It's like the Cal Ripken numbers of like, you know, see if I can't get 9 in a row or something like that. So yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, for sure. So there you
And then,
have
and then what was the other one? The scoring record, all time
oh yeah,
scoring.
and you're so close to that for regular
Ooh,
season. You're 560 points away. So just over 100 points a game left, and you'll get that.
I'll get that all this weekend, so it's all good.
You need to pull out some risky business numbers though.
Yeah, that
Once,
seriously, that was insane. Yeah,
yeah.
one player outscored the whole other team. So,
Yeah, that
oh
was
man,
man.
I
Yeah,
think I only had high score once or twice this year too, but I'm always constantly in that top 3 to 4 range there. So
yeah, or you're getting other awards. You've been in there. You
yeah,
haven't. I
yeah.
don't think you've
I
had a bad award yet, so that's good.
No, I mean, yeah. I hope you keep making these videos because I get a kick out of them. I sit there, I stop what I'm doing in the middle of my classroom, and I just like, let's all watch this right now. No, I'm just kidding, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm good. I hope you like the crazy themes too. Like,
Oh, it's fantastic. This is is this all from you, or are you picking it up from somewhere else?
no, no, this is me. This is all my original writing. So,
It's fantastic. I wish I had a creative mind like yours. I really do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and of
Yeah,
course, good luck for the rest of the way. I mean,
you as well.
this is the elite Mother Tuckers, everyone. Uh, According to our projections, the top Green Bowl contender through 9 weeks and
Let's
counting.
go.
And
Let's
that's the
go.
content for the week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had as much fun as us. New episodes, of course, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. Some good lore coming up. We're getting we're hitting that peak point of our story, everyone. So if you're getting into it, this is the time to do it. And of course, next week's our final out of division play. So we're at a crucial point in the league, almost the witching hour of fantasy football. So until next time, salut, and check out the game of the week schedule before you go.